What this comes down to is how RFK accidentally let out his plan for how they're going to kill vaccines. He said two things when he was asked about Novavax. He said two things, and these are mutually exclusive ideas. So you know they're being fed to him. They cannot. Both of these ideas cannot exist in the same context.
The Novavax COVID vaccine, and that's not an mRNA vaccine, was expected to be approved by the FDA, but there's a delay. Why is there a delay? Is it just personnel being shuffled around? Why is that?
We're looking at that vaccine, and it is a single antigen vaccine. And for respiratory illnesses, the single antigen vaccines have never worked.
So it's not because of lack of personnel or lack of people.
I mean,
okay.
we are actually shifting our priorities to multiple antigen vaccines, okay. And NIH is already working on a number of those.
So that's the answer to that.
Yeah.
I get that.
On one hand, he says, well, it's a respiratory virus and it doesn't work well. And what they're arguing is that COVID is just a cold, right? He's not saying respiratory, he's calling it a cold, and how we don't vaccinate for colds very well. Then he goes on to say, and single antigens historically are not better. Now, what the problem with that is that mRNA is single antigen, chickenpox is single antigen, we have Hep A and Hep B single antigen, Novavax is single antigen. So I assume, because of all this measles drama, how much you want to bet, Terry, that he got sat down by someone and someone had to explain to him why the measles vaccine is actually good. Like, I feel like
I'm sure they did, because I don't think he knew.
And so
obviously.
And so one of the long-standing issues in the anti-vax community is that these multi-antigen vaccines are unsafe, which is the conversation that leads to a reduction in measles uptake, right? So he gets sat down, he gets this explained to them. Multi-antigen vaccines are actually good. This is
in
true
certain
in some cases.
Yeah.
In certain cases, this is true. But he is then applying the same theory that makes it hard to vaccinate for respiratory viruses by saying, well, we're going to look for multi-antigen vaccines instead of single antigen vaccines. You can't just blanket. This is how we do vaccines. This is exactly what created the bivalent mess.
Yeah, and we tried this with the bivalent. Oh, let's get more than one antigen in there and it'll be better. Way worse. Turned out to be way worse.
At the end of the day, what's going to happen is he's going to first test the waters with Novavax, see if he can get it canned without major outrage. Then he's going to start going after other single antigen vaccines. And here's the real deal. Part of me of this just makes me feel like they want us vulnerable to COVID because they're going to take away Novavax, which is the immunocompromised vaccine at the very least. And then they're going to go after mRNA, and that's everyone's vaccine. And I'm pretty sure if they don't approve Novavax, kids mRNA is going to be the first thing on the chopping block because it's EUA. This all comes back around to what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because I feel like on one hand, we have to write letters, we have to do public comment, we have to make calls, we have to email, we have to do all that stuff. That all has to happen. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's enough. Now, that's not a code word to not do it. We have public comment for ACIP that's closing tomorrow. So do not sleep on that. Make your comment tonight. We're basically going on a couple of key issues. I did have that article about it. I'm going to add a thing to it right now. The main one is Novavax's BLA, which is Biological License Application Approval. We need the under 12 vaccine approved. We need the expiration date moved to at least 6 months. It should be 9. I'll settle for 6. So in addition to that, last year, our group was successful. We were all successful working together. The vaccines released earlier. We need to get them released even earlier. We need to bump up that schedule, and we need to make sure that they don't change any of the rules about access, because that would also be a big problem. We fought for those rules, and they want to change them.
We fought for those rules.
We fought fucking hard for them.